Welcome to Peptide-Proof, your source for rigorous, independent, evidence-based peptide intelligence. Today, we're looking at why most peptide serums fail before they reach your skin. So think about that expensive serum sitting on your bathroom counter right now. Yeah, there's actually a really good chance the active ingredient inside is already completely inactive. Why exactly is your peptide serum failing? Well, it really just comes down to basic chemistry. Peptides are, at their core, these fragile little short chains of amino acids, and they're held together by what we call peptide bonds. Now, while those bonds might be strong in theory, in a water-based serum, they are incredibly vulnerable. If they aren't properly protected by the surrounding formulation ecosystem, they're going to degrade, and rapidly. We're basically up against three primary chemical enemies here. First up is hydrolysis. This is where water molecules literally attack the peptide backbone and cleave those bonds apart. Second is oxidation. This happens when exposure to oxygen completely alters the peptide's 3D shape, which, as you might guess, destroys its biological activity. And third, we have photolysis. That's where UV light provides enough energy to just break the chemical structures directly. So, because of these three forces, those standard cosmetic formulations you see housed in clear glass bottles, they're essentially just peptide degradation chambers. So how do formulation scientists actually fight back against this? Well, they rely on four pillars of protection. Number one is pH buffering. That means keeping the environment mildly acidic, usually between 5.0 and 6.5. Number two is antioxidant protection, to scavenge those pesky free radicals. Three is encapsulation, which is physically shielding the fragile peptide inside a silica or lipid shell. And four, this one is absolutely crucial, but honestly so often overlooked, chelation. You see, trace metal ions, like iron or copper just left over from manufacturing equipment, can trigger a chain reaction that generates thousands of peptide-destroying radicals. Chelation essentially binds those trace metal ions to stop catalytic oxidation dead in its tracks. If a brand mixes incompatible ingredients, or, say, completely forgets chelators, the peptide honestly doesn't stand a chance.
Beyond the headlines.
Into the research. Peptide-proof.
But let's assume your peptide actually survives the bottle. It still has to get past the skin barrier. Peptides are naturally blocked by our skin because they're water-soluble and typically weigh over 500 Daltons in weight. Take a look at the comparison we have here. On the left, you've got regular liposomes, and they kind of just sit there on the surface of the stratum corneum. They really don't penetrate deeply at all. But on the right, you see transfersomes. These are advanced, flexible carriers that can physically deform themselves to squeeze through channels much narrower than their own diameter. It's basically forcing the peptide deep into the skin where it can actually do its job. Now, even the smartest carrier system is totally useless if your packaging fails you. Take a look at the standard dropper bottle on the left side. Every single time you open it, you're introducing fresh oxygen. That empty space at the top, the headspace, basically becomes an oxidation chamber, degrading your product every single day. On the right, however, the airless pump eliminates that headspace entirely and blocks oxygen from getting in. So for liquid stability, an airless pump isn't just some fancy premium feature, it is literally the required standard. Obviously, the most crucial point here is avoiding degradation in the first place. And that brings us to lyophilization. It's a big word, but it basically involves a freeze-dried peptide powder that is reconstituted at the exact point of use. By keeping the peptide as a dry solid in a sealed vial, you are avoiding hydrolysis entirely until the very moment of application. It is, without a doubt, the definitive gold standard of peptide preservation. Which really leaves us with this one final question to think about. Is your skincare formulation actually protecting its ingredients, or are they just selling you a name? Next time you evaluate your routine, take a really close look at the delivery systems and the packaging, not just the front label. That's all for this explainer. Like and comment to receive materials from us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.